Well, welcome ladies and gentlemen to our aspects video. And in order to do the aspects video, you need the aspects goggle. So anytime we talk about aspects, we're gonna have to wear these goggles because these are our aspects, our drishti, our sight. And so this is the exact same way a planet looks at another house or another planet. That's what aspects are. And that is what we're going to discuss today. Because today we're going to be discussing our good old friend Mercury and what his aspect does in a horoscope. And as always, if you do not know where your Mercury is placed, where your other planetary placements are, what kind of aspects you have, what house does Mercury aspects, for that check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including my books Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects at the Speed of Light, where I actually discuss all the aspects ahead of time, all the aspects through houses ahead of time, so you can just know exactly what's going on in your horoscope with the meaning of that instead of just waiting around for future videos. So yeah, today we are talking about Mercury aspects, and now I think I can take my Google goggle, yeah. So I thought that was a little creative for all you little kiddies out there. So when we're talking about aspects, what aspects simply is, it is a site. It is a planet's ability to influence another house. It's a planet's ability to influence another planet without ever being conjunct with that planet, without ever being next to that planet or house or being in that house. And it simply, shows like if I'm in a building, sitting as Mercury, and I'm looking at a building across me, and there's somebody else standing there, or maybe nobody else is standing there, and I'm looking at that building. What I'm doing, and I'm infusing my powers. If I had powers like Mercury does, I would be infusing my powers in that building. Whoever lives in that building will be getting my powers and my qualities. If somebody's standing at the balcony and looking at me, kind of like a mutual aspect, two planets looking at each other, I'll be influencing that person. That's what aspect is. Aspect also does what it does. It brings the quality of the planet, but also the house rulership of the planet is being affected, or it's affecting the other planet or the house. So, like if you get married in your major time period of the 4th house and sub time period of the 8th house lord or planet in the 8th house, and you're like, well, this planet does not necessarily rules my 2nd house, my 7th house, neither my 4th house of home and dwelling, and it doesn't do that either in the Namancha chart. Then why is it that you got married during this time period? Well, that's easy to say, because Mercury, who might rule your 7th house of marriage and spouse, might be aspecting the planet in the 8th house. And due to the transits of Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars, or Jupiter, Saturn mainly, showing the angle of marriage through moon and through the ascendant, you got married. So that's what aspect does. And aspect can influence all the other areas of life as well. Why did you get a house, or why did you buy a house when you weren't going through the time period of the 4th house or the 4th lord? Because even though you got the house when you were going through your 3rd house or 3rd lord planetary period, the 4th lord might be aspecting that 3rd lord who's sitting in the 6th house. And you're like, well, this is not making sense. Today I bought the house, and then this is not the same Maha or Antradasha or Pariyantradasha. That's probably because you want to look at the aspects. Conjunctions work the same way, as you know. But aspects also do the same thing. Not many people know about that. The simple truth and magic of aspects. That you're being influenced by other planets. But what does Mercury aspects do? That's what we want to know. So let's find that out. So Mercury, what is Mercury? Mercury, as you know, is a natural communicator. He is the messenger. He is a counselor, advisor. Mercury represents your analytical and logical thinking. When you have to calculate something, when you have to crunch numbers, when you have to look at something and make a decision, that decision making is not happening through your mind, moon. It's happening through Mercury. You're calculating things in your mind, but the results of that decision is Mercury. How is your Mercury calculating this for you? It's like a natural calculator. Mercury is a planet of announcing things, marketing, public speaking. Mercury represents communications of all kinds, whether it's literary or verbal. And Mercury represents your siblings, Mercury represents your friends, people that you just network with. And Mercury is that one planet that never really hates a sign. As much as many people may have Mercury debilitated or in a bad sign and an enemy sign, Mercury's always curious. Mercury's this curious planet. He's like, man, I want to know. I want to explore this thing. Mercury's in Pisces. Mercury's like, man, let's see what this whole imaginative thinking is all about. Let's see what is all this spirituality is all about. Mercury's in Scorpio. Let's see what is this hard, dark truth of this world is about. What is this occult and mysticism? I'm interested. I don't care if it's a hard sign. I'm interested. So Mercury is a very curious planet. So no matter where Mercury sits, Mercury will always aspect the 7th place from itself. Directly opposite. So if your Mercury is in the 1st house, will aspect the 7th house. 2nd house, 8th house. Mercury is in the 3rd house, will aspect the 9th house. Mercury is in the 4th house, will aspect the 10th house. So directly opposite. It doesn't have any special aspects like other outer planets do. But when Mercury aspects, what it does, it brings curiosity towards the other house. Mercury is interested to explore the other house that it's looking at. Like some of those ladies looking in across the building over the air shaft and see what's going on in the other person's house, and when I wanted to eavesdrop. That's what Mercury becomes. Mercury is curious to know about it. Mercury wants to network with that house. Mercury wants to engage in communication with that house. But the way it wants to engage its communication through the house that it's sitting in and the house that it's ruling. So if Mercury, let's say, is in your 5th house. In 5th house, Mercury is all about not only learning, not education, learning. That's the first thing. A person is curious about learning things. Education as well, but learning. And then at the same time, Mercury wants to express itself creatively. Wants to bring creative self-expression. Whether it's writing, scripts writing, and wanting to learn ancient texts. Modern text for this Mercury is not as interesting as the ancient text. This is why astrologers are very much seen with Mercury in the 5th house. And so when Mercury is here and Mercury is doing its thing, it's looking at the 11th house. So what it's doing, and let's say if you're a Gemini ascendant, and so Mercury is in the 5th house in Libra. And Mercury here, wanting to bring its 1st and 4th house quality in the 5th house first. And so your personality and your ability to love things, what you really feel inside, will be expressed through your creative self-expression. Whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you feel peaceful, the 4th house will be expressed through the 5th house, which is writing. But now that Mercury is looking at the 11th house, Mercury is going to be like, I want to find friends, I want to find a network circle of people and a large organization of people that actually are curious about creative writing, that are curious about astrology, that are curious about the Vedas, they're curious about the Egyptian history, the Mayan history, the Inca history, or the Sumerian, whatever. That's what, Mercury becomes. So when he's looking at it, he's trying to find those people to engage in what he's doing. He's not just curious to see, oh, I just want to find friends. Let me just find friends. No. Mercury is here to find similar friends as to what it's doing and what it represents. Mercury wants to find friends that can help Mercury develop its ego and its self-esteem, its confidence, which is what? The first house, because we're talking about Gemini ascendant. And this can be with anything. Like especially when we go through our series of planets through each ascendant, you'll know what exactly a planet is doing while it's ruling some other signs while sitting in the some house. You know, let's say if Mercury is sitting in the 9th house. Mercury is sitting in the 9th house. And let's say we'll use Cancer ascendant. Mercury is in the 9th house for Cancer ascendant. It's in the sign of Pisces. Okay. So now which houses Mercury rules? Mercury rules the 3rd and 12th house. So first what it's doing is bringing its quality into the 9th house. Meaning this person, ability to communicate, collect information, you know, their ability, their intelligence, the 3rd house, and then their 12th house, their subconscious mind, their hidden talents, their spiritual side of life is all being expressed through the 9th house. While Mercury is in the sign of Pisces, which makes a person extremely curious about creative self-expression through writing. Great imagination. These are the people who really hate calculating things. They do not want to do accounting work. No, they want to travel to a long distance place. They want to experience different cultures, different ethnic groups. They want to, you know, engage in communication with different people of different culture. And they want to be using their divine and their creative imagination to write about it. So travel bloggers may be seen with this kind of a Mercury. A very creative communicator will be seen through this kind of a Mercury. But now Mercury from the 9th house will aspect the 3rd house. What's happening now? What is the 3rd house? 9th house is higher learning, higher education, your teachers, your gurus. So Mercury is engaging in all of these things. But 9th house or 3rd house directly opposite, it becomes a house of teaching. So now Mercury, whatever it has learned by experiencing different cultures, different ethnic groups, learning philosophy, you know, wanting to probably even learn chemistry through chemicals because it's in a water sign. Now what it does is wants to engage in announcing what it has learned. Meaning it'll either go towards, is curious about meeting people that can help Mercury teach what it has learned. Mercury is not curious about announcing things, meaning it wants to now write. I went here, I experienced this, and I did this, and I did that, and this is what my result is. So now Mercury wants to announce things. Mercury wants to market what it has learned. 3rd house is the house of marketing, teaching. You know, 3rd house is where you want to kind of collect information and distribute information. Although the 9th house is the house of distribution, but it's where you're announcing things and you're distributing your voice and your literary things to other people. So this is why 5th house becomes students, because it's 3rd from the 3rd. 3rd house is also in a way students, because it's where you're teaching. 9th house is learning, 3rd house is teaching. 3rd house is writing, 9th house is publishing. So this is where Mercury is now engaged in. It wants to learn and announce. It wants to learn and publish. It wants to learn and teach. But it wants to do it in a more creative way. Like this person would probably want to teach, become an art teacher. This person probably want to become a spiritual preacher. You know, anything that is to do with creative imagination is where this Mercury will shine. So this is how Mercury's aspect will influence each and every house. And that's how you want to study your own aspects. Well, okay, so my Mercury is here and it's ruling these 2 houses. So it's bringing the qualities of these 2 houses and expressing it through where it's placed. But now, because it aspects that certain house, is going to influence those things. Because now, even the Mercury, our Mercury is in the 9th house in Pisces, it rules the 3rd and 12th house. It's looking at its own house. So all it is just communication. Communication becomes a huge thing. With siblings, they love to communicate with siblings. They're probably on call, best friends with their siblings and friends, always talking to them, engaging in conversations with them. And what it also shows is that they will find regular teachers and counselors and friends in foreign places as well. See, I can't really say gurus because that's more of a Jupiterian thing. Mercury is a teacher, but he's a regular teacher. So if Jupiter is a philosophy teacher, Mercury is like a mathematics teacher. Mercury is maybe a history teacher. Jupiter is more of that divine learning, divine gurus. So if you're looking for a spiritual guru, that will be depending upon your Jupiter, not Mercury. Mercury is running in your regular professors. Okay? So guys, this is my analysis of aspects of Mercury and what it means. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your Mercury is placed, all my books, reports, consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we will see you this weekend with perhaps something new. I might start a third series on this channel, because not many of you might have 3 planetary conjunctions, and that way you're only just are engaging in this aspect series. So I might just do something else. You never know. I'm crazy. I'm an eccentric, dyslexic. I can do anything anytime. Bye-bye.